Good morning, everyone. Hopefully everyone can hear me. My name is Paul Tacey-Green. I've been with the company for about kind of 7 or 8 years, and the purpose of today's webinar is to kind of better explain our approach to cloud, to kind of talk through some of the concerns and approaches that our clients and we have to cloud services. Feel free to pop any questions in the chat box, and we will come back to those at the end of each section. Hopefully you're all connected and can hear me properly, so we'll crack on. So a little bit of information, firstly, just to explain the history of Amito and a bit of the background where we've kind of come from. As you can see, there are kind of 3 companies, Crosspoint Co-location, Everest Data Centers, and iCloud Hosting. We've been operating as a single company in the background, for a number of years, but what we've done is consolidated our approach under a single brand, Amito. We have expertise in cloud, co-location, connectivity. So we've not just kind of simply done a brand name change. The idea is that we offer you more service and solution as a customer. The timeline that you can see on the screen kind of shows the full history. We were established in 2000 with our complex co-location team, Crosspoint Co-location. In 2011, we developed our cloud hosting division, iCloud Hosting, and we designed and built our flagship data center in Reading, which is a 60,000 square foot tier 3 plus site. It's the largest data center in Reading under the brand name Everest. And obviously this year we've merged to form Amito. We've got 4 data halls live in our Reading location, presence in 11 UK data centers, cloud services from 4 or 5 different countries around the world, and 23,000 virtual machines deployed. So let's get into our kind of main topic, which is why use the cloud. So lots of information available on the internet about cloud and cloud technologies. What we wanted to do is kind of properly explain how we approach things and the Amito cloud. So firstly, we've got flexibility. This allows us to, and our clients to kind of freely move workloads around, reassign and remove resources, gives you a lot more agility with your infrastructure. Scalability, I don't think there'll be any surprise that the Amito cloud is the same in the respect of most of the kind of hyperscale clouds. You can scale up and down, move resources between virtual machines. We see cloud as a very efficient use of infrastructure. You only need to have as much resource assigned to cloud virtual machines as they require. You don't have any wasted resources, so what you're committing for contractually is what you need. For us, cloud is a resilient infrastructure. That's not necessarily true for all clouds. Not all clouds are built the same, but for us, the underlying architecture of the cloud is fully resilient. As an example, we've got minimum of 2 storage arrays where your data is stored, and the compute layer has got a minimum of n+1 as well. So the idea is to actually achieve 100% uptime. By using virtualization, there are lots of additional features that you can benefit from, and our clients currently do. Prime example is our instant restore service, where we're taking standard hourly backups of all of the data stored on our cloud, shipping daily backups securely through encrypted tunnels to secondary locations within a particular legal jurisdiction, and instantly retrieving data from any of those backups in the event of a failure of any kind. So that is a really good example of a service that we've developed completely unique to us on the back of being used, being your service existing in a virtualized infrastructure. We've talked a bit about efficiency, and cost is obviously a big part of that. By buying into, particularly in a public cloud environment, the resources that you're committing to are a small section of a much larger infrastructure. So you're buying into a really resilient infrastructure, even on a small scale, and so you're getting a much much more cost-effective solution than maybe you could achieve yourself with physical hardware, where you would have to double up on a lot of equipment and think about inter-site connectivity and all of that. One of the things that people don't necessarily instantly think about with cloud is future-proofing. Obviously, because of the virtualization that exists, the underlying infrastructure is abstracted from your service, from the client. And as a result, we are regularly updating the underlying technology within our clouds, refreshing physical technology, running software updates to the virtualization stack, etc., etc. And this is completely seamless for our clients. We can live migrate clients to other areas of the cloud whilst we pull out servers and replace them, etc., etc. So this, eliminates one of the real challenges for a lot of kind of companies, where they have every 3 to 5 years a refresh cycle of their hardware, which can be not just expensive, but actually very time consuming and a real distraction from running your business. Location flexibility, as I've already mentioned, we provide cloud services in 5 different countries, so it allows you to have your service in a location that is relevant to your end user, your client, or your regional offices. Whether or not you want to have your data hosted, in Russia or Australia or America or in the UK, that's something that's achievable with our solution. And last but not least, simplicity. We try very hard to make our cloud easy to use, try to make it easy to administer and manage. We do that. We'll talk a little bit about our client portal vision shortly as well. That gives you a lot of control and oversight of your services with Amito, but also, fundamentally not having to manage directly your own hardware, resolve when hard drives fail and swapping them in and out. These are all things that we take off the shoulders of our clients and deal with ourselves. So next, cloud safety. Security, it's a really critical building block for our cloud. It's one of the reasons why clients pick us over our competitors. And we regularly provide clients and their auditors and their own clients with tours of our facilities, so that we can fully explain the security that goes into the infrastructure. One of the things that we're quite proud of, obviously, we established our cloud hosting arm in 2011. So our technology is now very mature. It's bedded in. It's actually we're now running a version 3 of our deployment. So it's stable, and as we've already said, it's mature. So you can rely on it and know that it's going to be something that you can have your business work well on. From a safety point of view, one of the things, and security point of view, one of the things that people think about is firewalling. We include a virtualized firewall stack for each of our clients. They are included as standard for all of our deployments, and this is something that often in a kind of dedicated server environment, or within a co-location sometimes environment, that would be an optional extra that you would have to consider or manage yourself. And this is something that we include, makes it really, really easy to manage. by default, all of the cloud virtual machines running within the infrastructure, they have outbound connectivity, although that's actually optional. But all inbound connectivity is by default blocked, and you have to open things up as you want. We've got some clients that literally lock this down and only have dedicated MPLS connectivity into their cloud stack, and they're not not exposing themselves at all to the outside internet, or it might just be where appropriate, opening up HTTPS to the outside world, but keeping everything else locked down to an office or what have you. I've already mentioned the fact that we provide tours. So one of the things that people are really looking at when we do that are the physical security aspects of our data centers. So prime example, our flagship data center in Reading, we have things like retina scanners, 2.5 meter palisade fencing around the external site, ANPR, so number plate recognition and recording, on-site security 24/7, and again, it's a kind of a benefit of scale. It's something that we can provide within a data center environment that can often be very difficult to achieve, in an office or in an on-site data center, or in maybe some of the tier 2 facilities that are available in the UK. So VPNs we provide as an optional extra. We don't force everyone to have this. We provide a kind of virtualized appliance. Sometimes it's a single standalone virtual appliance. Sometimes it's a high availability stack if it's critical and can't go offline. The important thing is that historically in the industry, if you wanted to provide someone with a VPN, that you would have to either have a dedicated physical VPN piece of equipment or increase the licensing on a firewall to be able to achieve it. And this, might come at a cost of £200, £300, sometimes more, £200, £300, £400, £500 a month, just for one. So we, because we've virtualized this and we've lowered the cost for clients, it actually makes it a very achievable and popular option. And that allows you to encrypt all communication between site-to-site connectivity between the office and the cloud deployment, or between different data centers, or between laptops and the infrastructure. So it's really flexible. But the key thing is that because we've made it a cost-effective option, it's actually become much more popular. Private clouds. Talked a bit about public clouds. We obviously provide private clouds, and these are very popular options. We're a hybrid cloud provider, so we're more than happy to provide dedicated infrastructure for clients, and this can tick the boxes for compliance and legal restrictions that our clients are under, still giving you the benefit of the virtualization and some of the other features that we've talked about. Very hot topic is data sovereignty. Knowing exactly where your data is and knowing that it will not leave a given legal jurisdiction is critical. We can literally walk you into a data center, walk you up to a given rack and point out the servers where your data is stored. And we don't allow data to leave the UK if you've got a UK-based service, unless you specifically request it. So our default position is it will stay within a legal jurisdiction. Backups, for instance, when we're taking them off-site to a secondary location, they stay within that legal jurisdiction. So prime example in the UK, again, we have our Manchester and Reading deployments, and we put off-site backups between those. The connectivity that we have between those sites are our own, but we still encrypt it in transit anyway, just in case. But it importantly doesn't leave the UK. We do have some clients where they opt actually to take their backups to the United States or whatever, because that's what they want to do, and they have agreements in place with their clients to provide that. However, by default, that's not what we do, and it comes down to a case-by-case basis for a client. I've kind of tripped into the data restriction thing there, which is also exactly the same. You know, having full control over your data. So I've got a couple of questions here, which might be worth kind of coming to in a little bit, because the second one here is, so is there a summary of the physical security that we're implementing at the data center? Yes, absolutely. We've got some documentation that we can provide for that, and yeah, that's not a problem as well. So another question about our hosting in Germany, whether or not we keep backups within Germany. Yes, again, that's absolutely the case, unless a client would request to back up to another location, then we would keep it within a given place. Got a question about the client portal as well, which we've had come in with regards to reporting on uptime and performance. So what we currently do, this kind of does extend slightly into an area that we're not particularly covering today. With our proactive support and monitoring, we do have a bit of an explanation of what that is later, where we take a much more application level approach to reporting performance and uptime and availability. And currently the graphs that we generate for that are internal, and for our for our ability to respond to those issues or trends or changing performance. But we do have a long-term goal to expose those through the portal, so it's definitely on the roadmap. Yeah. Okay. So obviously I've answered a few questions. If you've got any more, please bring them in. We have actually prepared a few frequently asked ones as well that I'd like to go through, that are questions that we receive quite regularly from prospects or existing clients. So we're just going to go through those now. So first question, is it easy to migrate from one cloud provider to another? This is actually a really kind of hot topic, because a lot of the hyperscale providers out there have very specific technology to their implementation of cloud, and there can be a bit of a lock-in. Once you have made your systems work with their cloud, you can expose yourself to, basically being fixed with that provider. However, with our cloud solution, there is no difference in the way our infrastructure works from any physical server or any virtual machines on another cloud. So actually, there is no reason why, if you had a service with Amito, that you wouldn't be able to move it to another virtual machine provider, and that's something that we think is quite key. If we just go on to the next question, I have physical servers. Why would I change? Well, removing single points of failure, achieving a higher level of performance, and having much simpler scalability would probably be my top three reasons for moving away from physical servers. They can be quite restrictive, and obviously when you want to add additional resources, you quite often have to take them offline, move applications around, and it can be quite complex. So I would always say a virtualized approach will give you greater flexibility and uptime. How much control will I have of my data? Well, the answer I think I've probably already given. It's complete control, unless you request us to do otherwise. We don't transfer data outside of a legal jurisdiction. You decide where that data is held. I can't physically see my data. Where is it located? Well, I've already said we can walk you into a data center up to the exact rack where your service exists and point at the servers your data is held on. So whilst you might not be able to see the individual zeros and ones. We can absolutely guarantee and show you where your data is located on our cloud infrastructure. Can my data be easily hacked in the cloud? I would say that there is no greater risk of using a cloud service than a physical service. So any server solution where you're connected to the internet obviously has its risks. I wouldn't say that a cloud service is more or less. And actually, I think there's lots of reasons why it's actually, potentially more secure in a cloud. So, if you think about the physical security that I've already talked about, that would be better than most typical on-site, on-premise deployments. The virtualized firewalls that we include, with everything kind of locked down by default, VPN appliances, and also the approach we have, we're ISO 27001 accredited, and so that details a lot about the processes by which we handle your data, access it, where from, how, what processes we have, and those probably go way and above typically what a normal business would do with their own data. So I would probably say that it's potentially a much higher level of security in the cloud. Is the security the same level as physical hardware? Well, as I've said, I expect it to be higher, but definitely the same. We've got options for encryption at rest, backups between sites are encrypted, etc., etc. So, with clients, we tend to start with a blank page and define a solution that meets the requirement of the client, rather than saying, well, it's going to be X, Y, and Z. So we try to have quite a flexible approach and meet what your individual business's requirements are. Is the cloud complicated to use? It definitely can be. And I've seen some of the hyperscale solutions that have, 1,001 different strangely named services in the portals, and it can be a big learning curve to work out how to go about using the service just to start with. And then, so for us, we tried, we've got our control panel, which we call Vision. It simplifies the control of the service that you have, easy creation of virtual machines, alteration of resources. Ultimately, though, our support team are there, and we have a less than 3-minute response on average to support tickets, and that's 24/7. So anything you can't do, we will do it for you. Will I have to change my company processes? This is something I'm personally really passionate about. I don't think that a company should have to change the way they want to do business in order to use technology. So again, lots of hyperscale clouds out there do require you to rewrite applications, change the way you work, change your processes, and that's a very high cost of ownership. I don't think there's any need for that, and our service doesn't require that at all. Everything that you've been doing previously, you can do in our environment. I don't think my application will run on the cloud. Well, in general, what we say is anything that you can do with a physical server, you can do with a cloud server in our environment. The beauty of hybrid cloud is that you can run legacy applications on physical servers if you need to, and the rest of your estate within the cloud, and that, we think, gives you the ultimate level of flexibility. Okay, I'm just scanning through some of the questions that we've had come in here. So the question about supporting frameworks like Kubernetes, that's absolutely fine. So I don't think that we're ever going to be a provider of a large behemoth Kubernetes platform. That's not really what we provide, but we do have clients that use similar automation software and tools within our stack. I mean, basically anything, as I said, anything you can do with a virtual machine or a physical server in any other environment, you can do in our environment, and the same is true for that. Is it possible to use a hybrid system databases hosted within the Amito cloud with an AWS-based web front end? Yes, there's absolutely no reason why you can't do that. You might find that you've not got quite as high performance, and I would question the real benefits of doing that when we can provide fully load balanced web front ends with all the support that you can get from our team that you would maybe struggle to get with AWS. But there's absolutely no reason why you can't have a hybrid solution that mixes and matches different providers. You know, prime example, AWS have a very well-known Lambda service, which we don't provide. And so we've got clients that use that as part of their deployment, part of their infrastructure, but they have the rest of it with us because they know it's going to be always online and well supported. Do we offer co-location services? Absolutely. So we have something called the 3Cs: cloud, co-location, connectivity. So absolutely, definitely, yes. The virtual machine layer, CPU, power, data, and network all have redundancy provided, but a misconfigured server may still not deliver. Do you support clustering, high availability of the servers and services? Absolutely. By default, this is exactly what we do. So all of our cloud infrastructure is clustered. We also recommend extending that to the virtual machine layer, and we provide clustered database servers and web farms and load balancing and you know, you name it, lots of it. Can one client's badly configured virtual server affect the performance of other VMs? No. So we, unlike some providers out there, we try very hard to offer a service and solution that you can rely upon. And one of the ways that we do that is we dedicate resources one-to-one. So if we have this saying, if you're not using your resources, no one else is. It's not a shared environment in that respect. Someone's asking about how the encryption at rest service works. I think maybe that's something to discuss offline, because really the question is, I would do the very rude thing of returning a question with a question, which would be, what for? What do you need to achieve? What level of encryption? As an example, you know, we provide encryption at rest for database servers. You know, it's quite a wide topic. Okay, so there are a few other questions, but I'm aware of time, and we only allocated kind of 30 minutes for this. I don't want to take up too much time. So I think what we might do is I'll go back over the questions later, and if there's anything in particular that you need answering, please get in touch as well. But I'll try and get back to you with those separately. So just to kind of wrap up slightly, just wanted to briefly talk about service and support, which is something that you know, we really pride ourselves in, and we, in terms of feedback from clients, we've always felt that this is what sets us apart from our competitors. I don't expect you to read all of the information on the slide in front of you, but you know, we've got case studies that support these statistics and these you know, the information that's on the screen in front of you. We have an average response time, as I've already mentioned, of less than 3 minutes to support tickets. We have a very consultative approach all the way from pre-sales, you know, ongoing as you are a client, and providing you with ideas of how you can develop new services and solutions for clients, etc. That's not to say that we shouldn't forget the technical aspects. You know, we do have some standout qualities there, which we've briefly touched on today. You know, our infrastructure, we've designed it ourselves. It's built and owned and managed by us. We're not kind of reselling other people's excuse me, services and solutions. So we're in full control to be able to provide you with as much flexibility as you need, and that's something that we're kind of extremely proud of. And then I think this is our final slide. bit further information about the 24/7 approach that we have, some information on the proactive monitoring and service that we provide, information about our portal and what you can and can't do. You can kind of basically be fairly self-sufficient within that portal, adding resources, spinning up virtual machines, destroying them. But as I've already said, anything you find that you cannot do through an automatic manner, we are there with a very quick response. Third line engineers available 24/7 based out of the UK to be able to do that for you. And basically we take an approach that is, if enough customers are asking us to do a given feature, then we will implement it within the portal, because again, the portal is something that we've designed, control and developed ourselves, so we're in full control to provide additional services and functionality should it be required. And that kind of brings us to our final slide. So we've, unfortunately, I must apologize, we have probably gone a minute over a budgeted time, so I'm sorry about that, but hopefully this has been useful. Thanks very much for your time. If there are any outstanding questions, please don't hesitate to drop them through by email to info@amito.com. They will get forwarded to me and I'll be happy to get back to you. Or please have a look at the website or give us a call. If you are an existing client, you have got an account manager who I'm sure will be able to answer any questions, or I'm more than happy to help. So thanks very much everyone for your time, and look forward to talking to you again very soon.